Howdy, welcome to the Mylers podcast, your cybersecurity news from an analyst and a noob. I'm Garrett, your analyst.
And I'm Julie. I'm the noob. That's a good thing.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's jump into the recent news in cybersecurity. So Microsoft and a couple others received a temporary restraining order to go after those with cracked or illegal copies of a tool called Cobalt Strike. Have you heard of Cobalt Strike before?
I have not.
Okay. Well, Cobalt Strike is a post-exploitation hacking tool that is designed for ethical hackers to help them once you initially get access to a system to organize the further exploitation of the network and credential harvesting and escalation of privileges, all those things that a red team might do for ethical hacking purposes. But unfortunately, malicious hackers have also found it to be quite useful.
Oh, I'm sure they have.
But they don't pay for legitimate licenses. They use stolen copies, what they call cracked copies of Cobalt Strike. So that's kind of the legal angle that they're going after, like copyright infringement. So Microsoft in their press release, gave Fortra, the company that is part of this lawsuit and is the producer of Cobalt Strike, gave them credit for trying to do things like vetting their customers and notifying customers when they believe their license was stolen by maybe a malicious hacker. But it seems that Microsoft has a more strategic approach to kind of legally go after these people and stop them, shut down their malicious infrastructure and their operations, which the health, another partner in this lawsuit is the Health Information Sharing and Analysis Center. And they're involved because Microsoft has identified 68, and Fortra, I think, have both identified 68 cyber incidences in which health organizations were impacted due to hackers using cracked copies of Cobalt Strike.
That's not good.
Yeah, so a lot of them are Russian-based ransomware groups like Conti and Lockbit. So
after hospitals.
Yeah. So there's obviously a public interest there. No one wants to have their surgery delayed or they're transferring to another hospital. All the operations that happen at a healthcare facility can be halted and delayed due to a ransomware attack. So pretty cool. Microsoft provided this image here of all the cracked copies of Cobalt Strike being used by malicious hackers. So it's a good thing that they're going after. I think it's kind of a neat legal approach that they're taking to basically get a court to authorize them to kind of like go after the bad guys, and instead of waiting for the FBI. They work in conjunction with the FBI, but this gives them a little bit more authority
and on their own
and scale to go out and just start saying
they get to be Batman.
Yeah, exactly, just like Batman.
The Dark Knight.
All right, this next story comes from Google's Threat Analysis Group, or TAG, and no tag backs. That's not fair.
I would.
So they are warning of this North Korean hacking group. They say that it's a subset of what Mandiant calls APT, or Advanced Persistent Threat 43. But it's this North Korean state-sponsored group of hackers that they've been tracking for over a decade. But this recent campaign, their warning is they're going after American and South Korean like think tank experts in regards to human rights or nuclear deterrence and disarmament and things like that.
Something good comes out of North Korea for some reason.
Yeah, but they are warning that they're sending these phishing emails that say, hey, we want to interview you about your expertise about the Korean Peninsula. And
a good one. Everyone wants attention.
Yeah, right. So
they're all addictive.
And they've highlighted a few different tactics and techniques that they're using in their phishing campaigns. One is kind of a run-of-the-mill malicious Word document. But one other one that I found pretty interesting and is kind of seems to be gaining popularity is called browser in the browser. It's basically where the website is malicious, but it brings up what appears to be another window, another browser within that window that appears to be a legitimate like Google login site. And so it's asking you to log into your Google account,
Wow.
and it's a credential harvesting attack.
It's just
And
like hiding right beneath.
hoping that you don't really notice the malicious website in the background, and you are, even if you check the URL, if you're looking at the one that's most prominent in front of you and you're missing the malicious one.
Put like a sticker over the
So
the bad thing.
yeah, exactly. So that's interesting tactic. And then they're also using malicious Chrome, like custom Chrome extensions. Mandiant, the company that's been tracking APT 40, what they call APT 43, this North Korean hacking group, just actually a few days, not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, released this report, this threat intelligence report, all about APT 43. So if you guys want to go check that out, we'll put the link in the description. And they kind of talk about how a common thing that the North Korean philosophy called juche requires them to be self-sufficient. So the hacking teams a lot of times will undergo what would be traditionally seen as like cybercrime and like financially motivated crime, going after like crypto wallets and other cryptocurrency related crimes to fund their own operations.
Wow.
So anyways, pretty interesting report. Our last story is pretty interesting because a security researcher, basically like an ethical hacker within the automotive sector itself, had his car stolen, hacked into. And so it wasn't just like they broke the window and they actually technically hacked his car to steal.
Bad day for that guy.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, they picked the wrong guy, because he was like, okay, let's figure out how they did this. And
that's true.
In April last year, so like a year ago, he posted on Twitter, about how upset he was that people jacked up near his headlamp. They kind of like popped open a panel and damaged his car. And he said, gosh, I can't have nice things. This sucks.
Yeah, what the heck?
And then it happened like a couple months later in July, and he's just like, stop doing this to my car.
Why is this a thing?
Who's messing with, like, stop busting up my car. And then a few days later, it was stolen. And so he started thinking like, okay, maybe this wasn't just like some homeless dude just wanting to damage my car near the headlamp.
Some guy on bath salts.
So he checked the, like it was a Toyota RAV4, and their system actually uploads like the diagnostic codes that you can get through the onboard diagnostic system. Yeah. So he went on and looked at the diagnostic codes, and there was a bunch that went off just before it got stolen. And he kind of put all these kind of little pieces together to realize that what they were doing was they were actually accessing the cable to the headlamp, because it's kind of like a smart headlamp. It's connected to the rest of the car's computer system.
Automated. It's part of the automation.
Well, yeah, it communicates with the car, let us know that it's functioning fine every so often. Yeah, headlights are on, it's off, it's malfunctioning, whatever. So it's called the CAN bus, or controller area network. It's like the protocol used for many cars, including the Toyota RAV4 and many other like boats and planes and space equipment. A lot of CAN bus is used in a lot of places. But the problem here is that, typically to unlock the car, they've put a lot of, smart keys and things like that. There's a lot of security protection from keeping the car, like one common attack is called a relay attack, where someone will capture the radio signal coming from the key to the car, and then you can like replay the legitimate message they said. So they've made advances in protecting someone interfering in a man in the middle and relay attacks with the key. Yeah. What they didn't do, at least with RAV4, the Toyota RAV4, many other cars, is that if you can send the message that once that key exchange happens with the car, it sends a message to the computer that says, okay, it's a legitimate key, unlock the car, or it's a legitimate key, disable the engine immobilizer. And that message itself, while you have all these security mechanisms and prevention, mitigation techniques and security between the key, that message itself is trusted no matter where it comes from in the car. That message that
So
it
if it comes
goes
through the headlight.
exactly. So that's what they did, was they accessed the cable
Oh.
and sent the same message that the key would send, to say, hey, unlock the car, disable the engine immobilizer, and then they got it and drove away.
Let me have it.
So the
Wow.
solution is to add encryption and authentication. So you can't just basically spoof the message as long as you can get to a cable somewhere on the CAN bus. You actually it has to come from a legitimate device that it recognizes and trusts and knows. And
Every time.
Yeah. So
That's smart.
this blog from Canis Automotive Labs, they have a diagram that's kind of cool that shows, there's 3 different CAN buses that communicate with each other through a gateway. And normally the smart key receives, does its thing and sends a message to the engine control, through the control CAN bus to the powertrain CAN bus. And there's also autonomy CAN bus. But if you can access that, as these hackers did, access the headlight, you can send that same message that also goes through is just kind of trusted and goes through the gateway to the engine control. Yeah. So
poor guy.
yeah. Well, that wraps up the stories that I have. Let's move on to the Beyond the Scope segment, which is your segment where we get to talk about something not related to cybersecurity.
Okay. So what I found interesting this week was a YouTuber who is known as a little prankster. He has a prank channel on YouTube.
My favorite.
I know, we love them. That's sarcasm. He was actually trying to do a prank and was shot in the process. So he just messed with the wrong person and ended up getting shot. Now, this to me is just a commentary on appropriate reactions, right? Like,
yeah, because the guy wasn't like doing anything.
He was
like
doing
overtly
nothing
threatening or
violent
violent,
threatening,
just being annoying, like
being
most,
very annoying.
like your typical prank channel guy.
And as much as I dislike prank channels and find them super cringy and just unwatchable,
Immature.
It's a prank. That's it. It's a prank, bro.
Yes. It does never justifies shooting somebody. Now it looks like he's going to be okay. He's pulling through, and should be fine. He's not going to die or have permanent damage, but his father was coming out saying he's getting all these messages saying that, like, well, he deserved it, or they should have finished him off, or like as if being annoying justifies not only hurting somebody, but possibly ending their life,
Killing them.
which is...
It's disappointing when you see people willing to justify violence like that. Like, no, the only right to self-defense happens when you have a reasonable threat to your life or serious bodily harm. Someone being annoying doesn't deserve to get shot. But violence is not appropriate.
Right. So we wish all the best to
have a good recovery. Maybe I wish you would consider stop doing the pranks. Like, even 2 things can be true at the same time, right? He shouldn't have been shot, but like maybe you should be careful and consider trying to find another way to make people laugh instead of pissing off people.
Yeah, it's kind of cheap, but we're glad you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
All power to you.
Except for
maybe put the power into a different.
All power to you, not to staying alive, but maybe, I hope that your
I'm glad you made it
YouTube channel dies. I want you to live. I want your YouTube channel and your stupid pranks to die.
That whole section of YouTube can just...
Yeah. Well,
I'd be fine with that.
Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Mylers podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Please like and subscribe, share this video, and we hope to see you next week.
Bye.